So what we used to do is we go back to his house after work and we would just pitch each other and just train. We're only 18, just wanting to get good at this role. We took it pretty serious. My first hour, I got a lead and I was literally shaking, right? Taking down the details, man, because I was like, I can't believe it.
It's that resilience element just because of the sheer volume you had to do. So 500 doors a day is just an astronomical number.
That comforting thought I used to tell myself was like, I don't care what's happening or what happens. Like the external isn't really going to bother me here. I'm just going to continue doing it. And I did. What had happened was my business partner at the time basically stole all the company funds quite randomly. When I say randomly, it was...
Scott, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me, my friend.
No worries, man. Absolute pleasure.
And I'm excited to get into this one because I was thinking about all the different places to go with you and all the different content you're doing recently, but I want to go much further back than that and understand about that entry point to sales and that stat of knocking 500 doors a day. What was happening back then?
Yeah, so before the chatting the doors, I actually joined a call centre. So my friend Connor at the time, he got laid off from his job at Juicens, and myself, I was a roofer. I was scared of heights, by the way. Don't know how I ended up on a roof. And it was funny, when I was roofing just before I got laid off, I was terrible at it. But what kept me there, or at least how I became an asset to that company, was I chapped on doors for him. And it wasn't like that was something that he asked me to do. I just found myself wanting to basically market for him. I was just trying to create value, really. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't like terrible roofing, but I just wasn't going to be there much longer because I wasn't great at it, do you know what I mean? And then I was like, cool, what else can I do? So I was taking like before and after photos, putting them on Facebook. This was years ago, so I was like, I think I was only like 17 at the time. So Facebook ads I feel like they had just started, they weren't like a big thing. So I remember saying to him, like, I know how to get you more leads here, and we just need to do Facebook ads. Now, I was getting paid £150 a week, and I was spending my own money. So it wasn't like I was using money out of his business. I was spending my own, like, £30 at my wage on Facebook ads to generate him leads. So for chatting doors for him, and then also doing Facebook ads, that's what probably kept me in that job for so long. And I remember, I think his wife told us to take the Facebook ads off because his name and address had to be on it and all that. She just didn't understand what it was. It was so back
that
in the
breaches
day.
GDPR or something, and you're like, don't worry,
I'm bringing in the money for you here. But that was so enjoyable. But then, yeah, once the Facebook ads went, it was like, cool, my time's probably moving on. But what it kind of let me know, trade, definitely not for me. But marketing, I was like, this is
a little wee bit of a fire in you.
Definitely. It was so enjoyable. I loved it. I hated the roofing part, but I kind of found my way. That kind of led me to, basically join a call centre. So my friend had joined a call centre. We were all young. Working with your friend just sounds like the best thing ever. So I was like, right, cool, let's try this out. We'll just do this for a while until we can find something else. And when we joined the call centre, like it was one of the ones we were saying to our friends, we're just going to do this until we find something else. But me and him took to it and we absolutely loved it. Now, we were only getting paid £6 an hour plus £5 every lead that you got. But we didn't really care about how much we were getting paid. This is what I like to say to people, like, a job is where you get paid, the only place where you get paid to learn. And sometimes we would go in there. So at first I was terrible on the phone, by the way. I'm not saying I was great. I was actually really, really bad. But my friend was actually really good. So what we used to do is we go back to his house after work and we would just pitch each other and just train. We're only 18, just wanting to get good at this role. And I can guarantee you that nobody took it that serious. It was just like a call centre, that's what it was. But we took it pretty serious.
I think if you look at that though, finding things that other people find really scary and daunting, sales is up there, isn't it?
Oh, definitely.
And being on the phone is up there as well. If you're willing to do the work away from the day job, like you were with the Facebook ads and the roofing, and like you were with the improving your pitch, I think it speaks a lot about your mindset and your character. But at that stage in life, you're probably not even thinking that that's a good trait to have. You're not even realizing that. You're just doing it subliminally, being like, I'd quite like to be better at this and make a bit more money, or even just get a more positive feedback loop from achieving something in work. I think a lot of us are striving for that kind of praise or recognition for doing something well.
That's it. I think that was definitely a motive. And then you know, there was sometimes where we would just work for free. So sometimes you would get your hours at the start of the week, and if they weren't hitting certain numbers, then you wouldn't need to come in. But we would just come in for free. It's crazy. And then sometimes we would even stay behind till like 7 o'clock, and that's how I ended up chapping doors. So basically, me and my friend stayed behind. We're the only one. We've got given the keys to the office, and we're just phoning leads at like 7 o'clock. I don't even know if that's legal right enough, but we were phoning people at that time anyway. And a boss for another department kind of walks in, who was my boss for years after this. He walks in and he's like, "What the hell are you doing in here? Like, just go home." And he's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Well, we're just trying to get some more leads. We're behind on the targets and that." He's like, "Right, cool." And I think he just seen 2 people who he wanted to have under him basically. And he said to us, "Well, do you know how much you could be making if you were making these leads, you know, on the doors?" And I was like, "No." He's like, "It's £100 each one." And I was like, "So if I get 10 in a week, I can make like £1,000 in a week?" He's like, "Aye, if you get 10. And I'm like, I'll be getting 10. I was just sold on it there and then. So me and my friend were like, "We need to go and do this, man." Like, we've been in the call centre 8 months. We've worked our way up. He had his own team in the call centre. The call centre was literally just filled with our friends, by the way. So didn't feel like work. But yeah, well,
and you were doing well at it too. So like I say, that positive feedback, look, particularly coming out of school and the kind of roofing side of things where you maybe weren't feeling fulfilled, you were probably like, "This is quite good. Like, I'm getting to do this for a day job."
That's it. And I feel like I needed that positive reinforcement. I think throughout my whole life, whether it's, you know, through football or whatever, I strive for that being rewarded. And it's just because of the way I've kind of been brought up. Whether it's running, I used to do a lot of running, playing football. You only really celebrated if you've done sort of well. So like, it just kind of made sense for me to go into a role where you're looking for that positive reinforcement and
that little boost.
Sales. And then the kind of competition, kind of competing side of it as well with sales and marketing. You're competing against other people. And just because of the way I was brought up through football and stuff like that, I just kind of moved into this sales, and I was like, this is for me, man.
It's
just
transferable.
That kind of mindset.
I can see that. So this guy spotted these 2 young, hungry, tenacious guys that were doing the extra work, and he dangled the carrot of the additional commission if you were to do it on the doors. What was the adjustment like going from phone to door?
Yeah, so the first week I made £500, so I got 5, and it wasn't because I was good. I think it was just because kind of newcomer's mindset. I was just buzzing to do it. I remember actually, do you know something, right? See, at my first door, I got a lead, and I was literally shaking, right, taking down the details, man, because I was like, I can't believe it. Because a lot of me, before I do something, you know, like Alex Hormozy says, you need the proof to get the confidence, but sometimes you need to be confident to actually get the proof. And that was kind of me with anything I do in life, man. I can get pretty nervous, pretty, you know, kind of scared to do stuff, but I just do it anyway, man. Like, I don't care, I'll just go and do it. And that was chatting doors. So for the like week before, my friend Connor, he's totally different. He was like, "I'm doing it." Like, he's extroverted. He could do anything if you told him. But I was different, but I just knew I had to do it. But first week, £500, and that was it. That was the kind of, I've made the right decision here. We had a supervisor at the time. He basically had the car, and he had done it for years. We were the only 2 young people. Everybody that was doing it were all in their 30s, 40s and 50s. There was no like new people coming in to do it. But yeah, from there, we done really well. But the supervisor at the time, he wanted to chap doors at sort of different times for us. And basically he went on holiday. And the week he went on holiday, we jumped trains and buses. Like, we didn't have a car.
Just getting your own way around, of course.
That's it. And on that week, I made my first, it was 12 weeks in, I made my first £1,000 in a week. And I was like, that's because he had a family, right? I totally respect it, understand it. But we just wanted to be out chatting doors all day. That was it. So we were chatting doors till like 10 in the morning, 8:30 in the evening, and we'd work the weekends. And I'm sure like if you get like 16 as a combined team, you get an extra £400. So there was some days where we were on 15 on a Saturday, and I'm like, we would stay out to the Sunday till we got it. And then that was me for 3 years banging on doors. And honestly, man, I'm so grateful, because I was never the most confident person. I'm kind of introverted, and me putting myself out the comfort zone, chatting on those doors, speaking to adults at that age, getting leads, is the reason why I've became an entrepreneur. So I can only pay gratitude to that company and Pat when he obviously gave us that opportunity.
Yeah, I love to hear that, and it's some people would say like humble beginnings, but it's a job that a lot of people wouldn't desire.
Well, I know.
But the fiscal element of it, if you did 10 leads a week for a month, that's $4,000 a month. A lot of people aren't earning that. And in a job where you're putting yourself out your comfort zone continually, there were so many learning curves on the way for you that you probably reflect on now sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. We were just happy. It wasn't really about the money. We were just happy to be there almost because of how much we were growing from it. But yeah, it ended up that we were jumping trains and like buses. We didn't have a car for the first year. And the boss at the time was like, this is unheard of, like you need to get a supervisor. We're like, no, just trust us. And we were making more money, getting more leads than the people that had a car. It was just crazy, man.
It's just that it's that energy you had as well. And like you say, because you were the two youngsters, you probably brought a different dynamic to, like, you both pushing each other too, and knocking the doors. They're maybe expecting the kind of more middle-aged guy to be pitching them the windows, where with your young enthusiasm there might just be a different vibe or a different energy.
Aye, definitely. And then when I ended up getting the opportunity to do sales, I feel like that also helped, just being a younger guy that I don't know, trustworthy, just kind of, they took to me. Because I was younger, a lot of people, when I sold the windows, they would always say, you remind me of my grandson all the time. I'm like, that's a good compliment, I'll take that. Yeah,
100%. It's so interesting. So that lead generation transferred into actually selling the window itself rather than just getting the quotes of the leads?
Yeah, so basically that's a totally different role within the company. It's the same sort of commission. No, it's not actually. So you would get 10% of every sale. So it's a totally different role, but you know, I knew that I didn't want to be champing doors for the rest of my life. And there was a point in time where I basically ran my own team. So me and Connor kind of went separate. I ran my own team, and he had a car, so he was a supervisor running, but I was running my team on trains and buses. I had my wee cousin, my friend, still friends with him today, and also just a friend of a friend who was champing doors under me. And I kept failing my test. See, because of that pressure, I just kept failing it, and I was like, I need to pass this because it's getting into winter. You know, sometimes it's raining, you're having to go under a bush. I'm now getting on 20 this time. I'm like, come on, man, I'm not a wee guy anymore.
And you're making enough money to justify the car purchase as well, because it's only going to help increase your scale.
Oh, 100%, definitely. And what ended up happening was I just didn't pass my test, and I had to say to everybody, look, in time, maybe try and find something else, unless you are willing to chap those through this. But I think it's best that he's maybe move on. And they were like, no, that's cool, totally fine. And then, yeah, I went back to join Connor's team. We chapped those for a while. We had a bit of a kind of falling out, but then that led to the next opportunity, which was my boss basically said to me, do you want to, you know, sell windows? And I was like, I need this opportunity. I need something new, because it'd been 3 years of chapping doors. And there was a time period actually I went and chapped my doors for like 3 weeks myself, but my boss just knew that if he doesn't get a new opportunity, he could just go and
apply himself somewhere else, yeah, you know? And you'll feel that need. What were some of the biggest lessons that you still look back on from those times, either door chapping or the actual sales of the windows?
Yep, so the biggest lessons, man, let me think.
One of the things that stood out for me when I saw you talking about it previously was that resilience element, just because of the sheer volume you had to do. So 500 doors a day is just a astronomical number when you're talking about 10 leads a week, 500 doors a day. The maths are, they're small, they're quite remote.
Yep, I think that a lot of people have a flawed perception on how long it takes to be successful. Whereas what that taught me is that, you know, how long are you willing to wait until you get the desired result? Because every day, those 500 doors, so maybe only getting 1, 2, sometimes obviously you had really good days, you're getting 10 in that, right? But there was weeks, you know, where it wasn't like that. And that kind of delayed gratification, I would say, is probably one of the biggest lessons from chapping doors. The difficulty of it every single day, you know, you're getting doors slammed in your face. Not all the time, not everybody was like that. But it's, I would say it's one of the most difficult jobs. And then also the fact that it was commission only. So totally commission. So you might have had a good week last week, but every Monday you're starting with zero. You're starting again from scratch. And that's the exact same in business. So again, I'm totally grateful for having that being my sort of career.
That reset
kind of taught me that, you know, it's the same in business. Like, you might not have business the next week, and that's just the way, you know, chatting doors was.
Yeah, I love it. What were some of the tipping points to allow you to move away from that? Like, when did you start to create some of the brands that maybe people know you more for now?
That's it. So the first idea was actually, so my friend Connor, we were obviously really big into the law of attraction. It was one of these things where, you know, when I said we'd go back to his house, watch, you know, YouTube videos on how to get better at cold calling or whatever, we'd also do the exact same with the law of attraction. And we would just sit there, you know, for hours on end. I don't know what anybody else gets up to, right? But that's what we done when we finished work. And from there, we're like, well, we really want to spread the message about this. We were only maybe like 18, 19 at the time. We want to spread the message of the law of attraction. And we were like, well, the only really way to do that would be through a clothing brand. So it wasn't like, oh, I want to get started in e-commerce and sell products online. For me, it just kind of fell into that way, that idea. So be it done really, really well, ended up doing really well. But I wouldn't say it was the best idea in the world, but we were just two young boys that were like, right, I want to do this. Nothing's stopping us. I mean, we're watching law of attraction videos in it, so we're like, we can do anything we put our mind to.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. For the uninitiated, it's that empowerment of your mind to recognise that anything is possible that you focus on.
Yeah.
And at that moment in time, you were focusing on sales, and then as almost a kind of side part of that, spreading the message that anything is possible to people. So the clothing brand was the vehicle to do that, which is funny. And it was called Allure, wasn't it?
Yep. So before it was called Allure, it was actually called Create Your Reality. And
what name do you prefer?
Oh, Allure, obviously. Definitely. So Create Your Reality was too gimmicky for me. And so at the very beginning, we honestly, when we dropped, we get like one sale, and it was his, like one of his, I think it was his girlfriend at the time that bought. We were like, yes, this sales came through, and it was his girlfriend. We really struggled, and then he just didn't want anything to do. It wasn't really, don't know, it was the clothing aspect, it wasn't really stylish. And then I was like, cool, I need to make a decision here. Do I want to take this on myself? And I did. I was like, do you know what, man, I want to do this, but I want to actually rebrand it and do it my own way. That's when I decided that it needs a new logo. If you've seen the logo, it'd be hilarious. And then I needed a new name. And yeah, I was literally, I think I was just, you know, searching names that meant attract, and then Allure came up, but it didn't really look good with the E, so I was like, let's just drop the E, and it means that it's dead unique, and that's where the name Allure came in. A lot of people say it's called Allure because your second name's McClure. It's got nothing to do with my second name. But yeah, it was literally just on the side, and I done 2 drops while I was working as a sales rep, and they sold out, and it was amazing. Round about that time, I was drinking a lot, so I was, you know, going out at the weekends.
Wearing the clothing as well?
Wearing the clothing.
Kind of on the party scene?
And that's how it kind of took off, to be fair. It was basically started DJing. I got into DJing, ended up with this like DJ crowd, new friends that DJ'd. And when people see the DJ wearing, people want to be the DJ at the end of the day. That's the way it is. And the DJs, obviously, it is like marking your clothes when he's playing in your t-shirt.
All eyes are on him.
All eyes are on him. So it just worked from there. And that was the idea. We kind of fell into that. As much as it was law of attraction, the whole idea was I didn't want people to know it was about law of attraction until they get the pamphlet. And then they could see the message, or maybe they just know because of the logo. Because law of attraction can be quite gimmicky. And I think that's how it kind of worked, was through music and getting DJs to wear it.
Yeah, I've heard you speak about that before, and I think many people that know the Gymshark story know that they were one of the kind of first influencer-led brands where they were sharing it with different fitness YouTubers at that time. And I used to watch a lot of Christian Guzman and Chris Jones and Matt Ogus, and they were all wearing the Gymshark tracksuit and the Gymshark stringers and the vests, and I was like, of course I'm going to buy that. And that was like really low cost marketing for Gymshark back then, whereas nowadays influencer maybe charge you to wear their stuff, but that was all just gifted product. In the same way you were probably just giving the t-shirt to the guy that you knew was DJing on Saturday at whatever event it was, and you were getting eyes on it, and people were like, that guy looks really good in that. I would like that myself.
That's it. They weren't even big influencers of that, do you know what I mean? And it was at the cost of a t-shirt for me. And it really worked. I mean, the biggest issue with the clothing brand was a couple of things. So it was more the supply chain. So a clothing brand is probably the hardest brand to start. I tell this to all my clients. See, people that come to me that want to start a clothing brand, I tell them no to start with, to see how they respond. And if they don't want to do it, I'm like, right, don't do it. But if they say they really want to do it, I'm like, well, here's the things you're going to face. Because it's the reason why it's the hardest thing to start is because you're essentially getting a new product every month. And you might not think it is, but it is. It might be the same quality t-shirt, but you need to get new designs made. Then you want to bring out tracksuits. Like, these things take time. Whereas, you know, with the tanning company that we'd started, you know, you make the product, you develop it, and once it's developed, that's it. That's it. We'll just constantly sell. And I think that our clothing brand, we only ever done 3 drops a year. So it was never at a massive scale. It was just a case of selling out. And then...
You were still working at this point, though, so I suppose that slows down the volume of releases that you could do?
Yes, and also just my knowledge at that time. And we didn't have... The thing is, like, once we sold out, we then used that money to then invest in the next drop. But then the sort of lead times for clothing's like 3, sometimes 5 months. So, like, there was one time where, this is later on when we were doing it full time, we sold out of, like, I think it was like 1,800 items. We done about 30k in revenue at Christmas time. And we're like, oh my God, this is amazing. But at the same time, the customers were like, a month later, like, when's the next stuff coming? And it was, do you know, the stuff didn't come till June that next year. And I was like...
Momentum's a hell of a thing in business, isn't it? Both positive and negative, and that links into that whole law of attraction piece. Like, if you're on a good run...
Yeah,
it's probably going to continue because the customers are hungry and you're still front of mind.
Yeah.
Whereas if you lose that momentum and 6 months later you do a launch again, they're like, oh yeah, that Allure brand, I'm sure I was going to buy stuff last time, but it was sold out. If you had released a month later and they tried to get stuff the last month and it was sold out, they're probably still on the hype to be like, I need to get it when it becomes available. Whereas in 6 months' time, the demand is probably dropped off just organically.
That's it. And that's what happened. And I don't get annoyed about it, but reflecting back, I'm like, and it was just knowledge. We just didn't know. And this is, again, why I help people do the exact thing, because I just think to myself, I can help people like I wish I could have helped myself back then, because it would have, who knows where it would have been at that point. But I think another reason was obviously we were splitting our attention between 2 brands. So I ended up...
When did the tanning brand start then? What was it? Rapid Tan?
Yep. So Rapid Tan, basically I was running Allure myself and I bumped into my friend Mark at the time. I was basically in Nico's, the bar, and I was in there a lot. People used to say, do you have shares in here? That's how much I drank in there, to be honest. And I sees him and he's with 2 of his mates, and he looks kind of like as if he's there himself. He just doesn't really look as if he's fitting in with the people he's hanging around with. He had like a non-alcoholic beer. And by that time, by the way, I've tried to quit drinking, I don't know how many times. And don't get me wrong, like I managed to do it when I was chatting doors for 6 months, going completely sober. And then something would happen and I'd be tied into this different life that would pull me away. And while I was running the clone brand on the side, kind of half chatting doors, half not at this time, I seen him with a non-alcoholic drink and I was like, I need this. I know I want.
You gravitated towards it?
That's it. So I went up to speak to him and he had started his own clothing brand. And it just kind of, and then he showed me the podcast he was listening to that day, and it was like a law of attraction one. I was like, right, cool. So I ended up putting my drink down, he puts his down, and we speak for a good hour until it's shut, basically. For there we exchanged numbers, and yeah, his clothing brand didn't really take off at that time. But he was like, we need to start a business together. And it was like just finding the idea. And back then, we hammered the sunbeds. Right? No, obviously, you can tell I don't hammer the sunbeds anymore. But at that time, if you go back on my Instagram, you'll see I was pretty tanned. And we were like, we could just, do something that like sell tanning products. And then from there, because the tanning just done well sort of right away. And then obviously that business partner, he ended up with an engaged audience. He's one of the biggest Scottish influencers, I would say one of them anyway.
Yeah.
And that obviously helped boost the revenue of the company as well. And yeah, we're basically splitting up our attention between Allure. It was actually in the one office at one point, kind of split.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And I think looking back, I wish that we just focused on one of them. And it was in discussion, but knowing what I know now, we at the time should have just put Allure to the side, even though it was still bringing in revenue, because that split focus wasn't good for us, and we could have done a lot better, I feel.
That's a really good piece of hindsight, but at the time, as you say, the Allure brand was with you from like your first entrepreneurial venture, or your first successful entrepreneurial venture that gave you a positive feedback loop.
Yeah.
So I guess there's an element of, it's my baby.
Oh,
you maybe want to keep it as well.
Oh, that definitely. I remember saying to myself, because I obviously I thought it was never going to like give this feeling that it might not take off, but the comfort and thought that I used to tell myself is I'm going to have this brand when I'm 30. And it was like, see if you just kind of open up the time horizon and you say you're going to have something for a longer period of time, you're not looking for, you know, those the early wins come, but you're not caring about what happens in between. And I think like a lot of young people right now are just looking for these quick big wins because they see these influencers saying they've made 10 grand in a day from doing remote sales or whatever.
Do you know, that's one of the problems even with educators like you in your space where you're teaching people to build an e-commerce business. You get lumped in with the I'll build a site for like dropshipping's really common. I'll build a site for you and we'll get you to 10k a month in no time at all. And you're thinking, okay, but how?
Yeah.
And a lot of these guys haven't even done it. Whereas if you look at your track record with lots of different businesses, you're also not promising it overnight. You're promising quick turnaround in terms of identifying what your product is, identifying your niche and building out your marketing, your branding, but you're not being like, and your revenue is going to instantly be this, because that's like just disingenuous, isn't it?
That's it. Success takes time, and don't get me wrong, some people can do it quickly, but usually it's like when I first started, the reason it took time is because I never had the knowledge, never had the skills either, and that in itself takes time. And you might be in the wrong idea. Who knows what will happen? But as I said, that comforting thought I used to tell myself was like, I don't care what's happening or what happens. Like the external isn't really going to bother me here. I'm just going to continue doing it, and I did up until last June. Was it last June? When basically what had happened was my business partner at the time basically stole all the company funds quite randomly. When I say randomly, it was a working day on a Monday. He was drinking over the weekend, and he listen, man, like I've spoke to him actually quite recently for the first time in a while. He apologised. I also accepted the apology because I know what he was going through. I seen it firsthand because it was like a drug and alcohol addiction, and I understand to the point. Obviously, it was devastating for me. It was probably one of the most difficult things I'll ever have to go through. But at the same time, it was probably not even probably, it was a blessing in disguise for me. He was kind of holding me back, and potentially I might have been holding him back as well. But that's kind of what happened around about June last year.
One of the things that I wrote down in preparation for this was that you wrote 10 powerful tips after turning 26 in November, and one of them was about not holding grudges and putting yourself in other people's shoes to understand their actions. And I think that's a really healthy perspective that I imagine you gained through something as traumatic as the business funds being misappropriated effectively.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing to do, and don't get me wrong, I probably didn't do it initially. There was like a 2-week period where I wasn't eating, and I just never, and it was more like a lack of clarity. It was like, what is my next steps? Because bearing in mind, this is 3 years in now. So I was like, I had worked, because when you're running a brand, we're only paying ourselves crazy amounts. We're paying ourselves like £300 a week. So there was no like big paydays for us. The business was doing really, really well. So you're working super hard on the basis that you're like, we might get an exit in a few years or whatever. I never seen it coming, and that happening, it just kind of throws you off.
It shakes your foundations. I understand that.
Yeah. But 2 weeks later, I got some clarity. It was more so that I knew I wasn't getting the money back, and I knew we were only going to work with each other, right? There's no trust there. That was never going to happen. But I thought there might be like, it might come round, there'll be a settlement. But nah, it was, logged out all the assets, Instagram, TikTok he took. It was very smart for being drunk, to be honest. But because at that point, 2 weeks gone by, I knew that I wasn't getting anything from it. It was like, right, cool, let's pull the sleeves up. And because this has kind of happened to me before, and the last time something like that has happened to me, I reacted with going out and drinking and partying and basically ruining my life for a good 8 months. When it happened this time, it was roll up the sleeves this time, and it was like, nah, you need to be a man, like nobody else cares. Let's do this, man. And very quickly I got success again. And it was the best feeling ever, because a lot of people kind of would say things like, oh, you're only doing well because he's got this influence, and I just knew that wasn't true. And then he would say it, and I feel like, no, in fact, he wouldn't actually say it, that's a lie. He would sort of imply it, and it kind of made me feel like
inferior.
And I was operating the business, it made me feel like that. And me, taking over a business you know, in the 6 months I was doing like 100k in a month. That was kind of like, if I needed that for kind of reassurance that I knew what I was doing.
I think when I look at your story though, and I was saying to you before we started recording, like the branding on all your brands is so good. Like the names, like Ecademy, for example, Allure, like even with people like maybe stupid, like, oh, is it because your second name's Scott McClure? But the branding on it's so strong, and all the fundamentals behind the scenes, even if you weren't necessarily the creator that was driving some of the leads and attention to it through channels like that, you were building the products as well. And even like I think this was with your previous business partner as well, but largely a lot of your ideas as well. Canny Walktails was like a lockdown cocktail business that did crazy revenue, like 50k in like 3 months. Like that is like crazy numbers, and it shows an entrepreneurial flair that a lot of people wouldn't have, whether or not they've built a large audience that can funnel people towards that too.
Yeah. So with the cocktails, it was during lockdown, of course, and it was actually the kind of last 3 months that we came around this, but I wish we'd thought about it at the start of lockdown, right?
When the weather was good as well, could you imagine?
Oh, it would have been crazy. It would have been crazy, to be fair. But yeah, I remember. So basically, because we run a tanning company, the sunbeds are shut. Nobody's gone on holiday. That went from, you know, doing a lot of revenue to zero. The clothing brand, you know, we were only doing 3 drops a year. The next one put on hold because of that, and we were just sitting basically twiddling our thumbs at that point. And I was like, we need to do something here. And then I just got the idea. I'd seen, you know, there was companies doing it, and I was like, let's just replicate this and do it off the back of basically ourselves. And in 3 months we were, you know, 54k we had done in 90 days, and I wish we could have done it longer, but the pubs opened.
Of course, and supply and demand is a massive thing, and all these different things, and like the product needed to fit that. You mentioned your own drinking, and your reaction to when something went wrong previously was 8 months of quite self-destructive behaviours. Yeah. What was different this time round that you were able to not react badly to a bad situation and almost hit the fuck it button? Yeah. So I was a year sober at this point when it happened, and thank God, honestly. Coming up just over 2 years now? Over 2 years now, yeah. That's really? It. Congratulations, mate. Cheers. I'd hit the year point, and I feel like I've matured. I'd seen the path that leads me down and how I reacted last time, and I was like, yeah, I know what happens here. I need to react different, and yeah, that's pretty much why I did that. What were some of the problems that alcohol was throwing up for you? Yeah, so I think like when you're brought up in the East End, I feel like it's very hard to avoid it, I will be honest. And you could call it peer pressure, but at the end of the day, who's peer pressure and who is it? Me sometimes, because sometimes I was dragging people out with me. So it was from a very early age, I'm talking like 16, I was brought up with drinking and drugs involved at the same time. And, you know, I remember like, and it was with school, I had no purpose. I just had no purpose, and I feel like that's pretty much why I went down that route. But, you know, escapism too, isn't it? For a lot of the time, in a lot of working class areas, alcohol is a massive part of the culture, and that's not just working class areas, but it's a massive part of the culture to escape from the reality, particularly during the winter months when it's just so grim. People are just, right, wake up, pubs are open, we're going, or we're getting a carry out, and that's the done thing. It's so normalised. Like, I don't know, personally, I don't know many people that's not went through at least a phase of it, and I'm just so glad that I could sort of avoid it. But yeah, there was times where I was younger and I would dog school to go and do stuff like that. Drinking, I was a whole 5th year. I came back, so I actually done the full 6 years at school, and the last year was literally just to prove to my parents that I wasn't a wee idiot, because in 5th year I literally didn't go. I just went out drinking, doing stupid stuff. No, because I wanted these grades or that. I was just like, I need to prove to them that I'm no stupid, and that's why I'd stayed on. But then as I became an entrepreneur and stuff like that, and even in sales, it was just handling performance. And yeah, I quickly realised that I was someone that was a totally different person. Now, I wasn't like a bad person or that. It was more so that, like, when I picked up a drink, that first drink, I would be out all weekend. Okay. And then that wasn't it. When I was sober, like through the week, I'd be, you know, against drinking so much. But then as soon as I had that first drink, I just turned into somebody who was, you know,
more or less somebody who would just stay out the whole entire weekend. I just remember saying to myself, if I could just quit drinking, think of your potential, like what you could actually achieve. And yeah, I remember that the exact day that it happened. So it's just as I had met my partner who I'm with just now. So I'd met her and I was trying to quit, I had these apps trying to, see how many days I could go without a drink. I managed like 2 weeks and then I ended up with my friends.
Was the temptation somebody inviting you to go out, or were you ever drinking on your own?
Never drank on my own. So that was a positive thing, because I know a lot of people that, suffer for that.
I think that's when alcoholism becomes one of its most challenging.
100%. It was more environment, people who I hang around with, and I had to have a whole identity shift, because bearing in mind I was a DJ at one point, so like that was associated to who I was, and I had to really get rid of that to basically quit. But yeah, I had met my partner and I'd stopped drinking for like 2 weeks at this point, and I remember just saying to myself, if she's going to be the one, I probably just need to drink with her once. And she asked me to go up to her house like 2 days later. It was like a Thursday, and she's like, do you want to have a drink with me? And I didn't even tell her about what I was like. I just said like, yeah. And I was like, I just need to drink with her once and then I can tell her. Went to drink with her and it was fine. We had a great night. The only time I've drank with my partner. But what happened the next day was I just went out, and I was out till, Monday, and it was like, right, cool. I need to quit. I need to stop this, because it's just ruining me at this point.
Yeah, I mentioned that kind of 10 points you wrote down at the age of 26, and I think birthdays are funny, and I do this every year now as well. I write down things that I feel like I've learned in the last year, or I feel like I've learned across my adult lifespan that I can bring to the fore. And you were talking about the fact that 50% of success is just avoiding the pitfalls of alcohol and drugs. And I think one of the terms you used earlier was the P word, potential, and your potential is so high, losing 2-3 days at a time to the actual session, and then of course the mental, physical and energy repercussions that come thereafter, you would never be long-term successful, I don't think, in terms of like the longevity of what you're looking to build and what you have built, if that was the kind of habits that you had.
Yep, I wouldn't be where I am today, and I wouldn't be going when I'm about to go. So I'm honestly so proud of myself, to be fair, because it is difficult for anybody, especially if you're from the UK. Probably hard everywhere to stop drinking. But now it's so clear. Obviously I went to Croatia to live. That was so much easier because I had no temptation out there. So that's probably helped as well. But nah, I don't really see myself drinking ever again. Yeah,
I think once you remove it, and I've talked about sobriety a lot as a productivity tool, and many people know I've done I think I did about almost 3 years completely no alcohol. During the COVID period I found it a lot easier because we're completely locked inside, and then I've pretty much not drank in the UK for a few years either, because I've just chosen to drink a couple of times on holiday, and it's been like full parties where I've felt it's added to the experience. And I think hangovers abroad are an awful lot easier than they are in the UK as well. But like that elective sobriety piece is massive. But I've also spoken to many people on the podcast who have had to opt out of alcohol because they know that it makes them function at a much lower level and a version of themselves that they're not comfortable with.
Yeah.
And there's a gentleman called Ed Latimore that I had on the show really early on, episode 40 something. And he said alcohol is the only drug that if you don't take it, people assume you have a problem. So if I, after this recording, said, let's go for a beer, Scott, and you said, no, I don't really fancy a beer, people would be like, oh, but if I said, Scott, after this, do you want to have a line, or do you want to have a joint? And you said no, people wouldn't bristle in the same way.
Sure.
It's how societally integrated it is to our day-to-day, which makes it maybe harder for somebody like yourself who maybe wasn't tanning a bottle of whiskey or a bottle of vodka in his own house, but when you went out it was just, I'll drink it and I'll be out till whatever time.
That's it. I was kind of relentless when I was out, to be fair.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you've chosen to move to move forward from it as well. What are the main things that support your ability to stay sober? You mentioned environment, so like being in Croatia, you've met your partner, which I imagine for a lot of people is a bit of a motivator, because the kind of person that Scott is now and the version that she knows is maybe different to the version that's been previously.
Yeah. So a big thing is identity. So I remember the week that I stopped drinking, me and my friend went to, it was kind of, I'm sure it was the summer, so we'd went out to like somewhere to have something to eat, and he was having a drink, and the waiter asked me if I wanted a drink, and I said I don't drink. My pal starts laughing and said, you were drinking a week ago? I was like, nah, I don't drink. And it's that kind of identity shift where you actually need to say, instead of saying I'm not drinking, you say that I don't drink. and I just totally changed my identity. And over time, people knew I wasn't somebody who drank anymore. Environment's a big one. Obviously, moving to Croatia, but like just don't go the places where you used to drink. So I was like, when I was trying to stop at the beginning, I would still be trying to be sober in the pub. Like, do you know what I mean? Because that's what I'd done every weekend, and I didn't know any way out it. But I also went to like 3 or 4 meetings just to commit. It was the best thing I've ever done. Basically, humbled myself, got round other people who also struggled with kind of drinking, taking drugs. And yeah, from there, it was like that commitment. And it's funny because that day that I quit, I actually looked back at my camera roll. We had bought loads of cocktails. I've got them sitting in front of us, and the next day I've went back at my camera roll like recently, and I've seen me take a picture of the cocktails, and the next picture along was I took a screenshot while my mate was at the toilet to this guy who basically helps people get sober. So even when I was out drinking, I knew I didn't want to do this anymore. I was like, I took that screenshot, reached out to that guy, and I had a few calls with him as well, and that really, really helped.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for the identity piece, the environment piece, and particularly in those early days where you haven't grooved that identity as Scott the non-drinker.
Yep.
You're probably much stronger now, where if you went to the pub before the football or whatever else, and somebody offered you a pint, you're more able to say, oh no, I'm fine, thank you. The big thing for me, and not that I've struggled with addiction, but when I've been able to say no, is having the car with me was a big thing. I would always be like, oh, I'm driving, and there's a big upside to having the designated driver with you as well, and I've got that tag, and I'm aware of that, and people are surprised if they ever see me out like properly partying, because they're like, oh, you're not driving tonight? I'm like, oh no, I'm enjoying myself this night for this particular thing. But I also find that, and I've said this many times to people, and probably on the podcast before as well, if I'm in a social environment and I'm not drinking, I make sure I bring the same energy that would be expected of me to some extent if I was drinking. Yep. So if I go out for drinks or go out with people in London with work colleagues, I won't sit on my phone or be in the corner or be out the way. I'll still be involved, and I'll chat, I'll be lively, and I'll leave at a time that suits me when they start to get to a point where I just don't enjoy it anymore. Yeah. And I don't give them the opportunity to be like, oh, I wish Colin was drinking because he's boring when he's not drinking. And when it starts to get a bit wild, I will just exit at that point and I'll leave. Whereas I think if I was there as a body but not really there in presence, I could understand why they would be annoyed and be like, I much prefer it when you turn up and you're boozing. Yeah, nice. I would say the earliest was always going to be the hardest, but honestly, man, after all that, it's pretty, I can never say it's easy. I take one day at a time, of course, but I think also is the responsibility I've got. Like, I've got purpose now. Like, that's what any time that I was drinking, it was through a lack of purpose. But like, now that I've got purpose, now that I'm running businesses, I've got that responsibility where I'm never drinking. That's betraying everybody who works for me. I literally see it as that. I would never go back to drinking with the responsibility I've got with the team and clients and stuff like that. Pressure's a bit of a privilege, isn't it? And you Definitely. Would almost feel sometimes that, let's put this pressure on myself and it'll enforce these good habits and this good identity of the Scott that you want to be. Yep, no, definitely. Yeah, I can totally see that. One of the things that I'm so keen to ask you about is this rise of Creatr brands, and you were mentioning you worked with somebody who had a big Creatr audience, so you maybe had a taste of what that might look like. But it's something that's just been going up and up and up. What's going on in that space? Yep, it's crazy because I never strategically tried to partner with a creator. It just sort of happened, and I seen the impact it can have on a business. And I never thought that I would take advantage of it myself and start to, partner with creators, but I really look into this topic. I've noticed people like Danny Buck, who owns Crafted, who's built that with Alex Cannon. Now the first one wasn't strategic. They spoke in Nando's and he wanted to start a business with him. But now he's strategically working with people in the Sidemen with his brand Circular. And the brand Circular, he's had that for years. He's been running that himself, but he's thought, no, I've seen the success of this brand just partnering with a creator. I think a lot of people are clicking onto it. But, and for me, I've got like 3 or 4 creator clients, and by far they're absolutely killing it. We've got one
that hasn't launched yet. The Flow Twins are launching a lifestyle clothing brand, and I just can't wait for them to launch. It's a clothing brand, but that's why it's took so long, but I'm looking forward for them to launch. But yeah, I've seen a massive opportunity with working with creators, and it's something that I'm moving into. It's I don't want to say it's a new business. I'm really just changing. Well, I'm kind of adding a new client avatar and marketing towards working with these people, but it's because I know I can genuinely help them.
Yeah, one of the commentaries that I thought was really interesting was you did like an analysis of Newtonic, which is Chris Williamson, huge podcaster and previous guest on this show, and his partnership with James Smith, who anyone in the fitness industry knows who James Smith is.
Yeah.
And these guys have launched a drink to their audience, and your analysis of how they positioned it I thought was fascinating. I think it shows your skill set to work out what's going on behind the scenes rather than just like, oh, they've launched a new brand. You're like, this is the nitty gritty of what they've been up to.
Yeah, I always like to, I just do that for fun. I like to analyse brands. That's just kind of what I enjoy, and it's especially creator brands. I don't know what it is. I just kind of like to see what goes behind the scenes. It's cool.
And they as creators haven't done this all themselves. What stands out about how they've gone to market?
So for me, I think it's, first of all, the choice in product was very, very smart, because with consumables, you're targeting a wider audience. So as a creator, right, you need to look at your content and you need to basically choose a product that fits seamlessly into the content that you're already creating. And for them, you could say they're pretty niche, but it's still, they've got a wide audience, and by going for that mass market sort of product, which is a consumable, something that, you know, people are going to also purchase constantly if they like it, it's a no-brainer. And I think if they were to go for something that wasn't a consumable, they just wouldn't do as well. So that was pretty smart, I feel.
Yeah, it's the first product that's been a physical one for James Smith. All his others are services like coaching or education, whatever it is. And then Chris, his main product is his podcast, effectively, and the sponsorship that comes off the back of that. So I find it fascinating that they went for something that was physical, as you say, and it's like really tangible.
Yeah, I think creators have realised that, you know, how long is their creative career going to last? Now, it might last forever, who knows, but that, not having something in place, and a lot of creators are kind of scared to sell something to their audience, which makes total sense. They don't want to be seen as just someone who's making money from their audience. And that's why they need to be careful with what product they choose. The product needs to be an extension of them. And if the product can actually give their audience like loads of value, they're going to attach that value with them. But likewise, if the product isn't great, they're going to attach it to them. So there's a lot of reputation on the line. When you work with creators, I have that in mind when I partner with any creators. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
happening.
And they've not done that themselves. They've partnered with, what's the gentleman's name again? Is it Shan?
Something Shin. Oh, geez, I can't even remember. We were talking about it before we'd started as well.
Yeah, but they've partnered with someone who's effectively a business expert.
Yep. So the company's called Genflow, and yeah, I'm sure he's doing 100 million. He's been running that business for 10 years. I've really been watching all his podcasts. He was talking about potentially selling the business. I know that I can afford buying it right enough, but I was like, if I can get in this space and potentially buy this at some point, because it's something where, you know, partnering with creators, it can't just be anyone. Like, they need to partner with somebody with experience. And the good thing about myself is that I've got experience, you know, of building products, but also info products as well. And you've got two types of creators. Some fall into both categories, but you have value creators that, you know, like the Ayman Gadzi, Alex Hormozi, Hamza, who sell info products. They could probably do both, but most of the time it's because their content's about giving value. But then you've got the creators who make funny videos and they're just entertaining their audience in whatever way. There's a lot of Scottish creators that you couldn't really pinpoint what they do. You've got a guy called Rap Gods or something. He just makes raps. Do you know what I mean? He's not going to sell an info product, but he could easily sell a physical product. And I feel like that's why I could definitely give value to creators, is because I have an info product background, but also the physical product as well. And whether they want to monetize through building a product or whether they want to monetize through, you know, selling, whether it's like, it could just be like a community or whatever with, you know, info attached to it, and basically provide value to their audience.
Yeah, you've been like pinpointing like $1 million or $1 billion ideas and almost like joking like I'm giving away these ideas, and that analysis for you, like picking something that you're seeing within the space. I know you say you do it from like an enjoyment perspective as well. It's great to watch your process for like identifying what might work as well. And the one that I was mentioning to you was the whole mouth taping thing. What's going on there?
Yeah, so I do a webinar every week, and it's completely free where I share like 20 ways to find winning product ideas. And I knew I was like, a lot of my clients struggle with the idea. So I wanted to just give that away for free and show people how to find ideas. And it's hard to kind of package what makes a good idea. But after like loads of research, I wanted to see how other people were doing it and what my take was. I finally kind of grasped it, and it's something that and the idea is everything. The idea is everything. Like, I see an idea as an opportunity, and at every stage in business, let's just say I was to pick the wrong opportunity, that could be a massive mistake. And that's what I want to give people is like, here's what a bad opportunity is, bad idea, here's what a good opportunity is. And that idea of the kind of mouth tape, it's quite funny because there's a brand, and I use the other one, the kind of scientific one, but it's like, I always start from like, who are you planning to serve? And if you are wanting to kind of serve a younger audience, they might not really resonate with the kind of scientific kind of, medicine kind of looking stuff. They might rather the cool aesthetic brands. And you see that across a lot of industries. So there's a CBD brand called Trip. And, you've probably seen when CBD was a big thing, that the drops and stuff like that, they look like weed products. They look like medicinal products. But if you look at Trip, when they've come in, they've actually, branded it to go for that Gen Z audience, and they're one of the fastest growing CBD drinks, and it's all just from changing the branding and who they're actually targeting. You see that there's a brand called Sneak. Have you ever heard of them?
No, what do they do?
So they do pre-workout, but it's not for the gym goals, it's for gamers.
Of course.
You might have seen it. And just by changing who they're targeting, because it's an underserved audience. If I was going to start an ecom product, which I'm actually 12 months nearly into building a product in the same sort of industry, I'm not even looking to go elsewhere. But that's exactly what I've done for this next one, is I've found an underserved audience and selling a product that's already doing well. That's something I would look out for. I would look for who is underserved, and look at solving that.
I think that's a great point. And if there is proof of concept with somebody else doing it, but maybe less market entrance than the average space, like, because if it's a well-served audience, then you're probably going to come up against more competition. Yep. But if it's an underserved audience, you go in with maybe some slight improvements to what the kind of current market shareholder is doing. Yep. Then you've got a real fighting chance of being, one, generating a lot of revenue, and two, being profitable.
Yeah, for definite, man.
Yeah, that it is really exciting. What are some of the other $1 million business ideas that you've spotted?
Oh, we're giving some away here. Do you know something, right? There's one that's just came to mind. So pickleball, I've done a lot of research on this. I've not even played it yet. I want to play it. But pickleball is like smashing it in America right now. And America's obviously got the foundations, as in they've got the accessibility to play it because they've got loads of courts. And obviously more and more courts are being built. In the UK, it started to pick up. And the reason why pickleball is soaring is because it's easier to play in tennis. I love tennis. I love playing tennis, but there's definitely a market for pickleball.
It's a higher skill sport, tennis.
Yeah, it's higher skilled. Pickleball's a lot easier. The court's smaller, and the rackets. So this is the actual opportunity. So the rackets themselves, what I've noticed is that they're all kind of similar to what we were kind of talking about there, but they're just kind of boring. More kind of for athletes and stuff. But see, because the pickleball racket you've got so much to play with because there's no holes in it, you could put any design on that. And that was kind of my idea, which I never took forward because it's like that shiny object. But for somebody who's got the time, maybe the passion about pickleball, then they could take that on. But the racket itself is get sort of loads of room for cool designs for that Gen Z audience, and I think that's a massive kind of gap for
yeah,
that.
That's a great point. And like you say, there's a lot of synergy between your analysis of that versus the mouth tape product. Go for something that's more attention grabbing, that's not necessarily science based. For the pickleball, let's make it something exciting and sexy that's different and stands out and is a bit more vibrant, and people can create more of a like an identity around it rather than just like a plain pickleball racket.
Yeah, you need to think about how you are planning to market. I like to think about marketing before I think about products, and that can be a kind of smart move. There's this guy, he's only like, I might be butchering this here, but I think he's only 19, he's selling sex chocolate. And he's seen this video go viral of this other company selling sex chocolate, but they just never understood short form. I think they paid for like one influencer to make a video and it got over like 1 million likes. But they just never done it again, and it just kind of flopped. And he's seen the virality in that, and he literally just copied it. And I think like before I launch a product, I think, is this going to be good for TikTok? I think the reason why I picked TikTok's because that's where my expertise is. But if you were like, I don't know, if your expertise was Facebook ads, maybe you wouldn't be thinking about that. But that's what I think of when I launch a product is this going to be good for the social media platforms, and has it got viral potential as well?
And that short form content as well, like you say. The only thing I think about with these things sometimes is like TikTok, I think the average user has maybe less income to spend on particular products. So depending on the value of your product, would you be better on another platform that's got a higher spend? So my friend Darren Lee always talks about this. He has a podcast called Kickoff Sessions.
Yep.
And he talks about the average salary on LinkedIn is like $60,000.
Yep.
So if you can make it on LinkedIn, you've got an audience that have far more capital to spend on a high ticket item. Whereas I suppose if you are selling sex chocolates or something that's maybe a lower barrier to entry in terms of cost, TikTok is the platform of choice. Plus we can talk about the algorithms, etc., etc.
Yeah, I think that LinkedIn is undervalued. It's a platform where I've been using, but just it's hard to try and
it doesn't like video at the moment. And are you seeing that? Because you do great videos in your reels and your TikToks. It doesn't love video at the moment. It's promising and threatening that it's going to optimize for it.
You need to be good at copywriting, I feel, on LinkedIn. That's something that's kind of the high ticket skill in which I'm really focused on just now is copywriting. I think it's very, very clever and it's underrated as well. How
did you identify that as a weakness just now or an area for development?
So it's something that I'm okay at, and I think that's why I'm wanting. See when you're bad at something, you usually hate it, but I think I'm enjoying it because I'm okay at it, but I know I could be 10 times better. And I look at my business and I think, right, cool, my expertise in sales has helped with sales. I've made appointments, right? Okay, that's helped with making appointments for my business. Delivery is obviously what I'd done for 7 years, e-commerce. So I'm just really just trying to fill in the gaps of where my knowledge isn't. And I would say like my main focus right now for my business at the minute is content, because I'm the face of the company. So I really need to be getting good on camera. So content's definitely one. Leadership's another one. I take all the meetings with the teams, and yeah, I would say that I'm a pretty good leader, but that is my main focus in copywriting. I just feel like I don't want to outsource that. I would rather that if my audience is looking at my content, it's not someone else that's wrote it. So that's something that I want to do for now anyway.
Yeah, I understand that. And there's that whole, if you can write and speak, you're one of the most powerful combinations. That's a bit of a Jordan Petersonism, and I completely agree. And I know from like how I've conducted myself in my sales career, being able to present and speak well and then write well with my emails and my proposals, it's a bit of a deadly combination when it comes to converting as well. And it's helped me get great podcast guests if we're talking about other things away from that. And it's helped me grow the show because I'm able to communicate my ideas and ask good questions. And I think that skill set combined is like a really, really valuable one. And I can see why, even if a creator comes to you and you've got good copywriting as well, without necessarily outsourcing it immediately, you can also help them with how they position things.
Yeah, definitely. I would say so.
Yeah, it's an exciting time in this market, and I think it's only going to go one way in terms of more creators are going to try and monetize their audience.
Yeah, and hopefully the right way. And that's why I want to kind of jump into that market. I think there's a lot of creators who might be selling products that they have no knowledge in. I've seen it so many times, and I kind of want to be that person that can I make sure that the products that these creators are actually launching to their audience are good. Some of them aren't at fault by the creator. Some of them are. Some of them should take ownership. And I've seen a creator who is probably one of the biggest audiences on TikTok, and he's selling telling people to go and do day trading and stuff like that when he has never done it himself. These are young, impressionable people, and that's kind of another reason why
there's not the synergy though, is there? So him pushing people towards that, the conversion rate is probably a lot lower than if it was something that they've seen him do before too.
That's it, and it's obviously going to ruin his reputation. And the thing is, with that audience, you could easily sell a product that's going to give value to their audience, which is going to outlast your career being creative, and people are actually going to enjoy it. If you look at Prime, so Logan Paul gets a lot of stick, to be fair, but see, because people love Prime, they associate that drink with the feeling that drink gives them with them. And if anything, it only makes them more famous. So I mean, people think when they sell to their audience, you can extract goodwill, definitely. So you need to make sure you're still providing value. But if the product itself is providing value, it's you're winning. Yeah,
there's that whole jab, right hook, Gary V. So like give, and then ask. Yep. The creators that are asking all the time, they lose that dynamic with their audience. But when your ask is for something that is a good fit, well priced, good service, good product, whatever it is, then if, like you say, it just adds to things, doesn't it?
Yep. No, that's it.
Yeah, I've been really exploring the different things that I can put out to my audience over the last year or so, and the first thing that I've done is a podcast masterclass, because podcasting as a medium is still so young, and so many podcasts fail or are fucking terrible, and that's in my opinion, but also the listeners and the download figures will reflect that as well. I built out my video course on that, and it's so detailed and so intense, and it's all from stuff that I've done, and people have seen this podcast go from 0 to top 1% globally, and that took 3 years to do, and I was able to distill down those lessons. So it was an easy fit to see if you wanted to build a show similar to this one or with similar principles to this one, albeit in whatever niche you wanted to do it. I was able to distill that down. But obviously that's a very niche section of my audience. Out of the many thousands of people that will listen to us chat just now, a very small number of those will want to start a podcast, but I have something there that serves those that do. I just need to think about how I can provide value through a service, a coaching product, whatever it is, for those other people that are just interested in maybe self-development more broadly. Yeah. Sometimes it's about, and Alex Amosi says this isn't something that I've plucked out, but it's something that I've really thought about, and it's just really about giving that information away for free. So we give away our courses for free, parts of our courses for other people for free. And initially, like, if someone comes in and they sees how good your free stuff is, they're automatically going to be like, if this is how good this guy's free stuff is, how good is this guy's paid stuff going to be? And it's probably the best lead magnet that you can have, because some people just aren't ready to buy your stuff. They need to watch a certain amount of content. You know, some people take 8 to 13 pieces of content before they're ready to buy. So what better way to actually give them a course for free so they can actually get a taste of what they're buying? And then it's like, well, how do you monetize that then? Like, I was planning to sell the course. Well, you know, you would then sell the coaching packages if that could work into it. You can sell accountability. There's loads of ways. Yeah. So it's so interesting, and as you can probably tell from doing however many 200 and something odd episodes, whatever number this comes out at, I would much rather, like, I love the process of doing it, and I've never thought that it's just about pushing a product off the back of it, but it is also irresponsible for me to not have things for my audience to work with me on a deeper level than just the hour a week or the hour and a half a week that they get just now.
Yeah, that's it. Though it'll just be more value. And I think when you first start something, if you can work with your first few clients for free, just to see and get immediate feedback, it's that feedback loop that you can constantly go and just make your product better. Because I think there's a lot of, because I've paid for a lot of information products, I've probably spent in the last 2 years 100,000 on info products, which is obviously coaching, not just courses. And you'd think I would just stop buying them, right? But about 70% of them, I got value for. I wouldn't say I didn't get value from them, but they were overpriced. I wasn't getting the value that
a little bit underwhelmed.
I was once sold, and I just feel like there's a lot of info products that they don't focus on the product being the most important thing, and that's the thing that you should constantly iterate. And that's what we constantly do with your company. We literally just invested $20,000 to build a new course and get it done like properly. And I think the first course we done was on Loom, but also we needed the feedback of how good the videos were. Like, you see the sticking points because people are going through your process. And I think like, actually, like, what's the word? Sort of like being open for feedback. So a lot of people don't want criticism. They're like, no, the product's rubbish, don't want to hear it. But actually being open about it and praising them for it so that they continuously give you feedback to make the product as best as it can be. Because I think the info space, you've probably seen it, it's absolutely booming right now. But the only ones that are going to stand the test of time are going to be the ones with the best products. It's not going to be who can market the best, who can sell the best. Yes, that comes into play. I think a lot of people just think of the short-term cash rather than the long-term gain. And that's why I don't mind reinvesting back into the product.
Yeah, of course. And it's like recurring customers, word of mouth, testimonials, case studies. These things are far more valuable than one initial massive bumper launch and then it dropping off like a stone.
That's it. I know. That's exactly it.
Scott, one of the last things I want to know is where are you headed from here? What are the plans for the future?
Yeah, so we kind of touched on it. So one of them is I'm going to be starting a brand and probably partner with a creator with it. I'll no give away the actual product itself, but that's going to be sort of next year. And the plan is to, Ecademy's at a really good point just now, and we are planning to expand Ecademy. We'll probably need to change the branding to suit this audience, but we're wanting to go after creators and help them monetize. So it's funny we brought up that topic because we're actually launching that in the next 4 weeks. So you'll probably see a lot of things change on social media. I've been testing a lot of creatives around that. You've probably seen the videos. It's because I really want to help these people. I've got a lot of creators in my network. I met up with a few creators a couple of weeks ago as well, just to kind of find out like what is their biggest pain points. And I kind of get it. It's that they're just they don't want to be business owners. I fucking love it. Do you know what I mean? So I'm like, you're allowing me do it.
That's your wheelhouse, and they're the ones that are the front facing for that particular thing and driving the leads. And you're like, okay, well, when they come through the funnel, you'll be the one that's created something that's really compelling and valuable in there. Yeah,
it's a deadly partnership. They're also fun people to work with. We're already working with creators through Ecademy. They just kind of probably put 1 and 2 together and realised that they could launch a product, but now we're actually going to market to them. But yeah, it's really cool. And then who knows, we could, partner with these creators, take equity if they want us to run it. There's so many avenues that we can go with that as well.
I think it's really exciting, Scott. And like you say, I think you've got that level of experience with info products, with physical products, with distribution, with marketing, and with that business side of things, and with working with creators almost through just your own experience naturally happening. Like it's that, like you say, deadly combination together.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's funny because obviously I randomly partnered with a creator with the last business. That wasn't strategic, but that's allowed me to have already done it and understand the potential that these creators have and understand their pain points as well, what they kind of suffer from being a creator, because it's not all sunshine and rainbows for them.
Yeah, exciting time, Scott. If people want to continue the conversation with you, where should they head towards?
My main platforms, I would say Instagram's probably the best one to catch me on, but I do try and post content everywhere. But Instagram, got a couple of YouTube videos. I do post on TikTok as well, but I would say Instagram if you want to reach out.
Yeah, we'll pop that link in the show notes. Thank you to you, Scott, and thank you to the listener. I'll be back to speak to you all again very, very soon.